one started with a sketch that I did a while ago where I just kind of drew the shape of eyes melting and it back. Like I liked the symmetrical thing of it being like a perfect mirror.
Mhm.
And then I started developing the eye. Then I was like, oh, do I want to do, because sometimes I'll do black and white stuff. And then I started drawing the iris and I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like really going in on this iris. A lot of the art that I saw, it's just so much of those characters. That's just like, it's cool. It's just not my style at all.
I left timestamps below in the description. We did her come up, we did NFTs, and then we went to spirituality and psychedelics. Quick preface before you watch this podcast. Since then, obviously, lots of things have happened, but this podcast was recorded over a month ago, I think. This was before my YouTube channel picked up, before her NFT stuff picked up. It was 2 weeks before I even picked up one of her NFTs. You can see in the beginning how flustered I fucking am. Stop roasting me. You would have been flustered too. And then about halfway through, you'll start to see me literally become mesmerized as I realize, holy shit, this girl's a rock star. And the rest is fucking history, so I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Here, hold on, you'll appreciate this. Like my camera set up behind, I got a little lights.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, look, when I was researching your stuff, I didn't know what to expect. Easton told me you were, video productions and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, interesting, because I used to do some of that, so I'm really excited to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Well, listen, I'll just get this started. I'm going to intro you, do my little intro, and then let's get into it. All right, guys, this is Sydney Espo. Me and Easton Easton contacted me with her, and I found out some of the stuff around. Like he'll send me people, and then I'll kind of like whittle through like who's who, and like if I want to talk to them, because like sometimes if there's just like he's like, hey, like they like this stuff, they like this stuff. I'm like, okay, well I can't do much with that. But when I saw you were video production, you're into spirituality stuff, you're doing NFT stuff, I was like, yo,
it's like a trifecta.
It really was. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. Welcome back to your Joyage. It's Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the little voice I dread for now, giving you a break from the constant total monologue that is the human mind. I want to say at the first, thank you for listening or viewing. On whatever platform you're on, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like in this video so other people can find the Voyage at Joyage Podcast on Instagram and TikTok for all the updates pertaining to the podcast. Yeah, we're going to get started. Sydney, welcome to the podcast, and say hello to California out there.
Hey. Coming from Cali.
Where in
Thanks
Cali
for having me.
Yeah.
Northern California, a little bit north of Sacramento.
Right.
Kind of in the country.
Did you move there as a reason to do your job out there, or how did it start?
No, so I'm from here, and then I moved to Santa Barbara, and my brother was going to school in San Luis Obispo. So we were both down south, and then we moved back here to start our business. When COVID happened, we both lost our jobs, and we're like, let's go home, save on rent, and then we can put everything into building our business. So that's kind of how we ended up back here.
So it's you and your brother?
Yes. Yeah. We do the video production together.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can share the screen correctly. I'm gonna pull it up because I was super impressed with your website. Your website is exactly what mine would have looked like if I had continued down this path. Okay, can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, I'm gonna pull this up.
Mm-hmm.
Is it cool if we go through it a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna pop up here. Awesome. Okay, so this is your website, Espo Video Productions. That's a great name. That's so lucky. Is that your real last name?
Yeah, so our last name is Esposito, so it's short.
Cool. Fire. Yeah, you have a really, really clean, just like, oh man, this is so nice. It's like exactly what you want to see when you see a cinematic commercial production team, basically. Now hold on, because when I was obsessed with video production, Peter McKinnon, Daniel Schiffer were two big dudes that I looked up to.
Yeah.
Daniel Schiffer, you a fan?
Oh yeah, that's exactly who who inspired us to start too, for sure.
It's amazing. When did you start doing this video stuff?
So it's funny, when I watched your YouTube video of where you're at, your update video, it was really funny because we have such a similar path.
Yeah.
Our first thing we wanted to do was just do travel videos, be YouTubers. So we did that. We wanted to travel, and then COVID kind of halted all of our travels.
Yeah.
So we were just, do you know Full-Time Filmmaker? Have you heard of that?
I have bought their course and done it completely. Yeah.
Okay, so when we were traveling, we were in the Dominican Republic, and we found that course and we got it, and it made us super excited to do filmmaking. And then it was COVID though, and we couldn't travel, everything was closed. So we decided to go down the product video route because we could build a studio at home and do it all, indoors during lockdown. So we just kind of went all in the product videos, and we started actually making money from it. We were getting, gigs, we were learning a lot. So we kind of just kept going with that.
How did you nail those first couple clients? Because that was something I struggled with in the beginning.
So we did full-time filmmaker, and then we took another course that was specifically for product videos by Austin Paul. And he just taught so well of how to basically, like, you kind of assign your own value. So we went in trying to not look like beginners in any way. And that's kind of just how we did it. I think we looked pretty professional right off the bat, just because we had all those great teachings from Full-Time Filmmaker and Austin Paul's course. We were able to just hit the ground running because they taught us so much, and we learned. I mean, it was lockdown, so that's all we did was just film and learn all day, every day. And yeah, it was actually the first gig we got was Austin Paul did a shout out on his Instagram. He was like, send me your latest stuff. If I like it, I'll give you a shout out. So we sent him the video we did for Bloom Farms. It was one of our first ones with the smoke and the lights. And he put it on his story. He liked it, and someone found us from that story and just hit us up. They were a brownie company from Texas, randomly enough. They were called Big Ass Brownies. They were just these huge brownies, and he was our first like real client. He paid us like well for our first gig. We were so excited. I think we killed it, and he liked it, and it was kind of off running from there.
Man, that is awesome. Oh man, that's so cool. I I have a YouTube like little series I created like a long time. It didn't like follow through, but it was like Road to Professional Filmmaking or something like that, where I basically on camera would show how I was trying to get clients, and I was just like DMing like random restaurants, bars, literally zero. And so that killed it a little bit for me, but I ended up just like making videos for like I had a couple of like friends who had businesses. I just like worked around there. But do you have any tips for people who are like just getting started, how to get in besides like a shout out?
Yes, I would say the free to fee method. Have you heard of that?
What's it called?
That free to fee.
Mm-mm.
So basically, when you're starting out, when you're building your portfolio, you have nothing to show to yourself, right? You can't just like walk up to a company and be like, I promise we're good. So we would make videos for companies just for free for our own portfolio. So we did one for this cannabis company called Bloom Farms. We made this video just for free, and we just sent it to them and said like, hey, we love your product. We made this. And it just so happened to be like perfect circumstances where they had hired someone to make videos for them, and they had received those videos that same day that we sent them ours, and they liked ours way better than that other person. So they hired us to do their next like 7 videos, and we just showed them our value right off the bat. We showed them, this is what we do, this is what we can do for you, and they were like,
Talk to me about the like transactions. Like, did you talk over email? Like, how did you even connect and talk about it and actually hold your stance? Because I know a lot of people talk about, they're like, oh, well, we charge like $800 for a video, and they're like, oh, we were thinking like 50.
So that's definitely a big thing starting out. Always we would start with email, and then I say getting on the phone as quickly as possible is just so much better. You can nail down so many things in such a short amount of time than playing tag team with emails. But that's a huge thing. We've learned to talk about budget right off the bat, because just like any business deal, like you want to help each other out. If you can't provide them what they need at their budget, and they can't give you the budget you're looking for, like you're not meant to work together. So it's good to kind of, just establish that right off the bat, ask them what their budget is, what kind of money are they thinking of spending, and then you can work from there if that's something you can work with or not, or stuff like that.
No, I actually, so we'll go back to that page. I
was doing a little deep dive. We'll if you're cool with it, I want to like pull up some of your videos too, because later in the video, maybe soon, I was gonna pull up a couple of my videos that I made, and I'll have you pick them apart from a brand perspective, because I know, like, when I made them.
Oh my gosh, let's do it.
The reason I couldn't stay with like what you were doing, that was like the goal for a while. And then I was doing it, and I was like, man, I'm not that great at, like, I don't have a business IQ. Everything I know business is learned. I don't have any natural like IQ. So I was sitting there and I was like, man, this is such a good video. And then I had a couple of guys like, yo, but it's a good like visual video, but you suck at branding. You're not very good at like marketing, I guess. And so now that I watched like all your videos on your website. So I watched all these. Just hold on. Let's which one do you want to watch?
Yeah. I mean, pick your one. I like the first one, the Casamigos one we just recently did. Yeah.
Oh, is this the one where it's like tequila?
Yeah. It was cool. We love doing stuff with smoke. We've had a lot of cannabis brands, so a lot of our stuff with smoke.
So cool.
Casamigos Joven Mezcal is handcrafted in Oaxaca, Mexico by a fourth-generation family of mezcaleros. 100% Espadilla agave, shaped stones of delicate smoke. Using a unique process, no two bottles will ever be the same. Built to craft excellence.
That video, you nailed it. You got all like the close-up shots, you got some far-out shots, some action. You got like the marketing, like the talking part. Oh my gosh, so good, so good.
Okay. So that's something that's been so fun. Hiring a voice actor, it's so fun. Like you don't realize how important and how just pros they can just do stuff better. You don't even know until you start working with them, and then you're like, oh my god, it's really fun. My
friend, he told me about that. His name's Jonathan. Shout out Jonathan. He was like, yo, you need to have voice in it. He's like, just talk about a couple of the things. He's like, you just want to mention it. It's just like good marketing. And I never got it. I never ended up doing it. So we'll pull up my 2 videos. This is from a long time. This is like over a year ago. Okay, so don't judge me. I don't know I hope you can hear it. Can you hear this side? Hold on.
I like it. The music is cool. I like it, that style, the like quick transitions and stuff. Very Daniel Schiffer. What was that?
Hit me with the if it was from a marketing standpoint to sell a wrist rest, give me the negative feedback, because it's cool for video to show what it is, but
I like it a lot, except the ending shot where you're putting it in that box, I feel like should end with a more powerful hero shot of the product itself. So ending like with it, a cool shot of it by the computer being used, something like that, because I feel like it's nice to end just like with a powerful statement, where that one it ended in like a closed box that isn't even the box with the brand or anything on it.
Smart.
So that would be my main thing, I'd say. Yeah,
when I was making it, I thought when we had the idea, it was like, oh yeah, we'll just it'll look like we're packaging up, and so I went with it. Yeah, that last shot is kind of like, yeah, it's fine.
But I like it. I like the music. I like the energy. It's cool.
All right, and then this one. So I'm gonna have you watch one more. This one, when I made it, I was very, very excited. It's super. It's almost too intense. It's more of like, it would be more of like a self promo now that I watch it again, rather than a promotion for her personal training.
I like it. I like the energy. I think it's fun. I think it's intense. I think workout videos like that, I think it's fun to make them overly, super dramatic, super intense, because it's just a testament of you can make things look so cool. When I've shot a workout video like that in the gym, when you're filming it, it is not like that. But the way you can make things, sound, the energy, the intensity, I think it's really cool. I like that one. You killed that one.
Thank you.
The sound design is like my favorite thing ever. And then we also had the spray sweat. We had like some weird glycerin thing. Oh, so much fun. That was so fun to shoot.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was that?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, just the little things like that, like fake sweat, those little things make the biggest difference. Like that's something we've learned stepping up our game. Those little things, the attention to detail, can make something look much more professional.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Good for you.
Thank you. Especially on some of your restaurant/drinks promos that I watched, the sound design is like, it's just magnificent. Like I'm watching, I'm like, oh, and I have these headphones, I'm like, it's so crisp. Like if I close my eyes, I can imagine them there.
I love that. Thank you.
So from a marketing standpoint, if it was to sell a personal training promo, would you say that's good, or would you add in anything else or take away anything?
I think that's good. Maybe the only thing I would say is have something to show that she's training someone else. You know what I mean? Like even something at the end where you see both of them, like it's the one person doing all the heavy work, and then at the end you see some shot of them, you know, interacting in some way, working together to show that it's like a, you know, a team thing.
Yeah.
And she's training someone. But I like it. I like the intensity a lot.
Yeah, she was like an Instagram, like famous Instagram person in my area. So I reached out to her and I was like, yeah, we'll do like, it was a photo shoot and we ended up transitioning to a video at the very end. But yeah, it's cool because I literally shot that in like 10 shots total. We had like 10 minutes and I was like, okay, do this, and this. And I just like stitched it all together really quick. So.
Oh, that came out awesome for that.
Thank
you. It takes us so many tries to get shots. Sometimes it's ridiculous. So hearing that is incredible.
So I want to definitely talk about like your actual, what's it called, like procedure when all that starts. But I also want to ask, how did you get into video? Was video like something you were always interested in, or it just started a year ago with quarantine, or how'd you get into it?
It honestly just started. So my brother gets credit for that. Well, originally we didn't necessarily wanted to do travel videos. We watched, you know, like Cold's videos, stuff like that. And we were like, well, we want to travel and that looks cool. It'll be a cool thing to do both of. And then when we were traveling, we realized we didn't like vlogging. That just was not our style. I know you said that. I was like, yeah. But we liked doing more cinematic vlogs, and we liked the part where we weren't actually vlogging, like actually just filming where we were, what we were doing, like the beautiful stuff. And yeah, so we kind of just wanted to go with that. Our goal was we wanted to make videos like that for hotels and travel, like, you know, have a hotel want us to like film their place and stuff like that. But we just couldn't really do that with quarantine and COVID. So that's kind of why we switched to product videos. We started watching Austin Paul, who at the time was a lot smaller. Now he's blown up. He is awesome. We've actually managed to like work with him a couple times. My brother's working with him. Yeah. And he would just make these crazy, cool, creative, fun videos just in his living room. And we were like, we can do that. Like, let's do that. And the more we did it, it was just, yeah, it was something, it was so fun. It works on our strengths really well. My brother is much more tech savvy. He edits. I'm much more artistic. I do just kind of lay everything out, all the visual aesthetic stuff. So we just work together really well. And it kind of, yeah, it's kind of how it happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it is all recently. Like we never picked up a camera till like a year and a half ago.
Wow. Damn. So it's a testament to people who do courses, because I called bullshit on so many courses because I was like, look, they're great, but no one ever does anything after a course, you know. But you guys bought the course, you bought another course, and you turned it into a business.
We owe everything to courses. Like masterminds are our shit. We've done many of them. Like anytime we want to get into something, like Matt got a drone, took a drone cinematography mastermind, like anything we want to do, we find masterminds for. Yeah, they help so much. I just feel like you take off running, like the little things, like in Austin's product videos, he's been in the industry for like 10 years. So he just knows all these like little things that make such a big difference. Like the best type of fake ice, spraying a matte spray on a can to get rid of reflections, like all these little things that make the biggest difference. And we just got to learn like a decade's worth of, you know, behind the scenes tips in a 20-hour course.
Man, was did the quarantine, was that like a big catalyst? I mean, I know you said you were going to do travel, and because of the quarantine you didn't do that, but like for me, when the quarantine hit, I was serving at a restaurant. Like I was making a ridiculous amount of money, but I remember I was just like, so am I just gonna like serve at a restaurant forever, or like what am I gonna do? And then I think I made like one YouTube video with my phone, and then I was like, this is kind of cool. My roommate had a camera, so I used her camera for a little bit, and then it just, oh my God, you know, like you just grab the camera and you're like, fuck, this is great. This is great. Cause it just gives you a creative out. Like, I don't even know. I was taking pictures of like plants, and I was like, oh, like plant pictures, you know, when you first start.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm very similar to you in that way. Me and my brother were both working at restaurants. COVID happened, we lost our jobs, and we were just like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And so my brother came to me he's like, let's start a YouTube channel. Like, I think this could be really fun. So yeah.
I tried to find your YouTube channel on your link tree, but it took me to some like no page. It took me to like a no page. So I would have loved to watch. Yeah, I think I found them the other day somehow, but when I tried to find it today to pull it up, I couldn't find it for some reason. But
well, I will fix my link tree and I'll send it to you. It made me laugh in your video. You said something where you're like, this is it. And then you're like, just kidding. I change my life plan every 4 months, or I make a new life plan every 4 months. That is exactly what we do. Every 4 months, we want to like change the direction of our YouTube channel, change everything we're doing. So I relate to you so much in that way. It's pretty funny because in YouTube, we started off doing like kind of like personal growth videos, like stuff that really helped us. Then we switched to travel vlogging. Then we switched to product video tutorials, and yeah, bro.
Well, that's the best thing is like the trial and error. There's no other way to make it in this type of work. Like there's no other avenue other than just try this, try that, try this, try that. And somehow I ended up in NFTs and crypto. I have no idea how that happened. But like the year I spent making consistent YouTube videos, making promos, cinematic videos, vlogs, it all, and I knew it was going to happen. I was just kind of like praying. I was like, one day I'll find my niche and I'll finally be able to make videos consistently, easily, because I will have all these skills acquired and it'll just be second nature to me now.
Yes, that is beautifully said. Absolutely. We have learned more. We also stopped going to school when COVID happened too. We both did 2 years at school, at college, got our AAs, and then we stopped. And we have learned more in this last year, not going to school, than we could have ever imagined. Traveling, the things we've learned, the opportunities we've gotten just from being able to put ourselves out there and go to random places and walk up to, new people. It's insane.
So are you and your brothers, I assume you guys are close in age, but you guys have always been close? Or how can you run a full business with a brother? I would kill my sister if me and her worked together.
So we are a year and a half apart. So we are very close. We were always a grade apart in school. And we were definitely not close really at all. Especially in high school, we did not get along. And when we both moved out and we both went to school, kind of had a year, did our own thing, we both grew up a lot. And I don't know, then we just kind of slowly started to become friends, and actually like hang out and spend quality time together. And then, yeah, we started doing the YouTube together. So we were doing that. And then we started traveling and we came back here. We've been living together ever since, and it's worked out somehow.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you guys have similar hobbies too, other than the video making, or?
Not really. My brother's he does all like action sports. He surfs and does, all that sort of stuff. I do yoga and I paint and I do stuff like that. So no, we don't really have very similar hobbies, I would say. But we both love being outside. Like if he's surfing, I'm just like swimming. And
Yeah. That's so cool. Man, to live in California would be cool. Where in Cali are you again?
So we're not in a good spot at all. We're like out in the country and it's not too fun here. Nothing happening. It is beautiful, but when I lived in Santa Barbara, that was heaven on earth. The weather, the beach, it was absolutely incredible. Yeah. And then my brother, he loved San Luis Obispo just as much. That's where he learned to surf and fell in love with it. And yeah.
Yeah, I went to, so in 2019, me and this guy named Ken, he was the guy who, well, he didn't get me into video. He's a cinematographer, video creator, content creator dude. And so I went to Hawaii with him for like 2 weeks. And I remember that was in 2019. I had not a single lick of intelligence as far as camera. I remember he was like, okay, I have the shot framed. All you have to do is click this button. That's it. You don't have to do anything. And I messed it up every time. And
oh my God.
Tragic. But we went into LA on the way back just for a few days. We went to like visit Santa Monica. I went to like Zoo Culture, all these places that I'd seen online, and it was really, really weird being in LA, but Santa Monica was cool. I mean, have you been there to like that area?
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
It's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of the LA area just because it's so crowded. There's so many people, and there's places just as pretty, if not way prettier, in California with way less people. So Yeah, LA, I'm not super into. That's why I loved Santa Barbara, because it was much smaller.
Mhm.
It did have tourism and stuff like that, but you could go to the beach and be the only one on the beach. Like that was very possible. Where in LA, it's not like that.
Yeah, it was a little underwhelming. I got there and we were walking into the middle of downtown, and I looked at Ken and I was like, "So are we gonna like get there soon? I thought we were close." He was like, "What do you mean we're here?" And I was like, "That's not the
Yeah.
real Supreme store, right?" And he was like, "That's the Supreme store." And I was like, "It's like broken. The whole store's like, like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, that's the one." And I was just like, "Oh." A lot of people say that about LA.
I would say the same thing. I think San Francisco's cool. And Northern California, it gets no love. It is so incredibly beautiful. Like we are an hour away from Lake Tahoe. Have you heard of
I
Tahoe?
have.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Like go there over LA.
Yeah, so when I was in Washington, so on my trip, I was just kind of like, I don't even know what, I was just going everywhere basically. And I was in Washington forever. I love Washington State. And so I had to come back for a bachelor party in Vegas. So I drove through Northern California. It was
Oh, cool.
it was beautiful. It really, really
Yeah.
was. And I'm trying to think of, because I wanted to move into a little bit of the travel stuff, because you told me you were gonna do some travel vlog stuff, and I saw on some of your Instagram, I did a little peeping. You were in like, I don't know what is like Central America area. Is that where you were?
No, so first we went to the Dominican Republic
Okay.
because it was COVID was happening, and it was just honestly one of the only places open. We just looked up where is open, and Dominican Republic was there, and we just literally picked a place on a map and went. And we ended up staying for 2 months, and it was amazing. We met so many cool people. And one of the people we met, he has a study abroad physical therapy program that he would run out of Costa Rica, and students from the States could go there, get their shadowing hours, and work with physical therapy doctors there, as well as, be in a cool country and explore. But COVID happened, he couldn't do it in Costa Rica, so he actually opened one up in Mexico, and he hired us to go out and film his whole program and make marketing material for him. So we went to Mexico a couple months ago, and we were going to go just for a week to work with him, but we were like, well, we're getting flown out anyways, so let's just stay, make it a trip. So we stayed for like 3.5 more weeks.
Talk to me about, because I'm gonna understand it because I've traveled too, but I feel like it's sometimes hard to put into words what really happens to you when you travel for an extended period of time, like 2.5 months you mentioned, and I traveled for 6. It's not the same as traveling for 1-2 weeks in Cancun,
No, yeah, that was the first time that I've been like traveled for a significant period of time, and it is so different because you're not trying to rush and see so many things and do so many things in a certain period of time. You can actually just live there, experience what normal days are like, what rest days are like. You can actually get to know people. Like when we went to the Dominican Republic, I met this absolutely wonderful girl. She was my age and has a little baby boy. He was like 10 months at the time, 9 months. And we became friends with her and her boyfriend, and we spent like every single day with them and like their family and ate meals with them. And I saw their, baby grow up for 2.5 months, and we just really bonded and connected with these people who we would have never met. They were local Dominicans, and you can't get that flying through places quickly, that real authentic experience, like learning about the culture of a place. It's so different, and it's so impactful. It's beautiful.
And I remember before I left, people said the classic, like, you're not going to be the same after, like, you're going to grow up so much. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, probably. And like halfway through the trip, I was like, I feel like pretty much the same. I don't think anything's happened. But now when I look back to who I was, like, back living in my parents' house in South Carolina, and going like, man, I can't put my finger on what exactly is different, but something's just totally different, And I'm sure you can say the same before you started like your company, before you basically sent it in life, you just took a chance and went with it. I bet your friends are low key so inspired by that. Like that is so cool, because people aren't really doing that. When you're in the world, you think everyone's doing it because everyone you're looking at is doing it, but in the real world, people aren't doing that.
It was really cool traveling and actually meeting other people like that, because everyone we didn't know anyone around us who wanted to drop out of school and start their own business and do something completely different. And of course, everyone in our family was like, no, go to school, that's a bad idea. Like, and it was cool when we went out, when we were in the Dominican Republic, there were so many people that worked there that had their own businesses, worked online, and just went there to hang out and live. And actually talking to them and interacting with them, we were like, oh, we're not crazy. Like, there are so many people doing this, just not in our little town of where we are. And that was really encouraging and cool to see, because we realized, you know, if we don't want the life that all these people back at home have, we don't have to listen to their advice, you know, like if we don't want to like have their job and their lifestyle, like we can do our own thing because we want different things than them. And that just became really clear as we traveled. And it definitely, it changed me. It made me more confident, I guess, in my decision. And yeah, just like paving our own path.
Yeah. It's weird because sometimes depending on the path you go down, there's not exactly a blueprint at all sometimes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like YouTube? Like, hopefully someone knows, someone's done this before. But it's scary, especially when people ask you certain things about the future, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, I got nothing for you. Just kind of taking it.
We talk about that all the time. We come up with a plan, and then in 4 months we completely do something else. I'm like, yeah, we definitely don't have a blueprint. We're just trying so many things. We kind of just go with, like, I don't know what we're passionate about. Like, we recently started getting into crypto. I found like this cool way to tie in my artistry to this whole like new world, and learn about all this new disruptive technology. And like now we're doing that too. Like, we're just not scared to try new things. And like you said, we're hoping we'll find our niche.
Well, yeah, and that's a huge thing, that especially with travel, and especially just living a life that's a little bit different than most people, it gets easier to put things down and try other things. For me, like, I was able to I didn't drop crypto, but I kind of more or less dropped crypto and went straight into NFTs. I just was like, this is it. This is going to be bigger than crypto for sure. And so, like, one thing that I've learned is just, it's so easy for me to literally, if I've spent 6 months doing something, just be like, all right, I'm done, and just literally set it down. Some people have a really big issue with that, because like, wow, like, especially with jobs, they're like, well, I want to leave. I've been wanting to leave for like 2 years. I just can't. Like, I don't know about jobs, and you're sitting there like, dude, there's like 25 jobs right down the street. You could totally get another job. You're just terrified to put down like what you've been holding for so long, and that's something I learned on this trip for sure.
Yeah, and I think to your point, that probably gets easier, because once you do it the first time and you realize like, oh, so many better things came than what I was doing with, you kind of get used to that constant state of change. And you're like, oh, it's okay. Like, I can we do that all the time. We'll like put so much effort into something and then just want to grow and do something different. And it's not like that time was wasted. We learned so much, we grew so much, we have these skills that we can still use in other things, but you know, like, that's not for us. Like, let's try this and let's pivot, let's shift. Yeah,
that's spot on. That's literally spot on. You're like, look, I needed that experience while I didn't like use it, and I didn't like squeeze out everything and like keep going down that road. You had to have gone through that path. Like, if I hadn't tried travel vlogging, now I would be sitting around like, damn, I just want to try travel vlogging. But since I tried it, it kind of like, I don't know, it makes life seem a lot more manageable, especially being in LA or California like that, where you get to kind of see, especially the online creators, kind of like what their life is really like. And then if you're making YouTube content, you see the behind the scenes of like, oh, so YouTubing is actually really fucking hard, and it takes a lot of work. And as you know, editing can sometimes take forever. Especially like my podcast, if I do a Zoom interview, since there's like a 1 second lag every 4 seconds, the editing takes 6 hours versus an in-person interview takes like 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Wow. Yeah, I know. My brother, he kills it. He does the editing, and it is insane how much work goes into it, how long it takes.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I want to talk about since we broke open Pandora's box with the NFTs, and plus I'm going to need to be sold on this Phantom wallet, because I'm just not a fan of Sol, but I am willing to download the wallet. If it means getting one of your artist pieces, because that piece was super cool, super unique. I've never seen I've seen one Yu-Gi-Oh card that looks like the art piece that you made, but I've never seen anything like that before. So,
Okay.
talk to me about that. Is that like a one of one piece, or and you made like 50 of them available, or is each one different?
Yeah, so that one, there's 50 of them. It's just the one thing. So yeah, I just recently learned what NFTs were, kind of started diving into the space. And a lot of the art that I saw, it's just so much of those characters,
Mhm.
like
The
they look
profile
kind of
picture stuff.
gaming-esque. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's just like, it's cool. It's just not my style at all. So I kind of just thought, I figured a lot of people that are in the NFT game right now, it's people who want to make money, right? They want to buy stuff, they want to flip it. And that's not really why I want to go into the space. I truly just want to share my art because I think it's going to get to a point where when it's more commonplace just to have NFTs and show your collection off like an Instagram page,
Mhm.
people are just going to want fun, different art that they like and they connect with. And so that's kind of what I'm planning for, and that's why I'm choosing to do it on the Solana because there's no gas fees
Yeah.
essentially, like way, way less. And I'm just starting to share my art. Like I don't think it's worth that much because I'm just starting. So I'm putting them up for like $10 and I'm not people who are buying art for $10 can't pay, $150 for
Yeah.
a gas fee. So I just think it's a good starting ground if my art becomes super popular and I'm able to step it up and sell things for more. Yeah, I can definitely pivot, but I think it's a good starting point.
Yeah, totally, totally. There's so many marketplaces out there right now. I mean, they got the Soul Marketplace, they got or what's it called, FTX Marketplace, they got Mutable X, Coinbase is coming out with theirs. That's gonna be super exciting. Have you signed up for the wait lists for that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
oh
I'm in.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Dude, I'm in the
yeah.
top 1,000 right now. I've sent so many links out for
Really,
like my
because you
reference
keep
code.
getting boosted.
Yeah, I get boosted. I keep going down. I'm like, well, I want to be in like the top like 500.
Oh, that's
So I'm
awesome,
excited.
good for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like there's probably not anything special about getting in the 500, or if you're like 20,000th, but whatever. It's kind of like an ego thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I can only imagine that it's going to kind of boost everything in the NFT world up. Like even if Coinbase uses ETH
Mhm.
and all those users, start there, I can only think that a lot of them will want to switch to lower gas fees and like try other ecosystems. And I think too, like especially with SolSea where I'm on right now, it's so new that first of all, so many things are so complicated and it's frustrating, but it's also so new that I'm like hopping into Discord and they're literally like, guys, we're in beta, we're just starting, be nice. Like
Yeah,
we're just
that's
starting this
funny.
out. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool to like feel super early with that
Hey,
too. Because I think, if I have a collection on there that's verified, like when an influx of people join, it's like, I'll be there. I feel like I'll
yeah.
be likely to be seen by a few, which could be cool.
I think so. Yeah. No, your art's very different than I've seen. It fits in that category of like, what's the fucking word? It's I can't remember what the word of like that type of art. Yeah, help me out. What's it called?
I I don't even know. Everything I draw is so random. It's so different. People ask me that. They're like, "Well, what's like it like?" I'm like, I don't know. Like I draw
Where does it come
like
from? Where does that inspiration come from?
um it's just all over the place, honestly.
Like,
Like the
do you
thing.
just draw? Did you draw the eye and go, oh yeah, yeah, I like that eye, and then you just kind of start doing around, or like,
So that one started with a sketch that I did a while ago where I just kind of drew the shape of eyes melting and bit back. Like I liked the symmetrical thing of it being like a perfect mirror.
mhm,
And then I started developing the eye. Then I was like, oh, do I want to do? Because sometimes I'll do black and white stuff. And then I started drawing the iris, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like really going in on this iris. So then I
yeah,
decided to make it more realistic looking, just because the iris was cool. But so much, I just draw so many random things. The
hold
style,
on.
the
For anyone wondering, I'm just gonna show it to my camera so they can see it. This is, oh god, it's so bright. Actually, I'll just pop it up on the screen. But
So fucking cool. So cool. I love that
thank you. Yeah,
piece.
my kind of thing that I'm starting with is I don't know. I don't feel like I have a style yet. Like I said, I'm bouncing
Yeah.
all over the place. So I think that could be kind of cool though. Like I don't want to try to push myself and merge into a style and do one collection with all the same stuff. Like I'm just kind of gonna do whatever I want to draw, whatever's popping in my mind that I want to make. And then, I feel like people could go to it and maybe they won't like 20, but they'll like that one that's like weird and different. And it's just, that's like authentic. I don't have a style. I'm all over the place. So I'm going to kind of just roll with that.
Are you bouncing in NFTs? Like, are you about to like dive in, or are you kind of just teetering on the outside?
In terms of like buying and flipping?
No, in terms of just in the NFT space, like is you selling this art becoming like hey, I want to do this and I want to put myself out there? Because people connect with the artists. Like right now, Fidel, he's really, really active on Twitter. He's streaming, he's doing YouTube because he wants people to connect with him and then be like, oh, by the way, I got all this art.
Yeah, 100%. So again, like this is all so new. I'm just starting, but I definitely want to do all that. I'm starting to like make all the socials right now. It's so like overwhelming, kind of trying to like learn it all at once, like trying to actually learn how to like create the NFTs while also trying to like find other people and connect and be like, hi, I want to do this. But yeah, I'm starting. I'm like hopping in Discords and Twitter and trying to follow other people. And yeah, that's definitely the goal. Yeah, no, it is a lot.
It's so much. I don't think people, because I try and get people in. So on Instagram, I do a bunch of like, not money flexes, but I'll just show people what's like possible in the NFT space and trying to at least get them through the door. Cause I know that the work it takes to get to a point where NFTs are kind of like second nature. It takes a considerable amount of front loaded effort on whoever's like going to be in there. Cause there's definitely a learning curve. And so I get like 1 or 2 people a month who are like, okay, like I'm down, and they'll hop in the Discord. Usually nothing comes of it because it has to be like an internal motivation to want to get into something like this.
Yeah, definitely. And something that I'm going to do just to make it easier for people, because like you said, it feels like it is such like a scarier barrier of entry of to like, where do you start? I'm just planning on making simple videos like how to, like, first of all, what are NFTs, how to download a Phantom wallet, so I can just point to people, say, because people have already asked me like, what is a Phantom wallet, how do I get that? I could just shoot them to this quick video talk about how to do it, because I feel like, especially if they like your art and they connect with you and you make it super simple for them, to have access to your stuff, like they're much more likely to do so. So yeah, I'm gonna work on all that.
Oh yeah. Have you looked at the other like, I know there's art pages basically, like I think there's like one called Foundation. There's a couple of different like artist focused, especially for art, not like not for photography as much. That's actually not true, but there's a bunch of like artist websites that are doing any of the NFTs. Have you looked at any of those, or are you looking to stay on Sol?
Like other marketplaces, you mean? Like,
yeah, well, there's a bunch of them that are like more private. Yeah, they're more private, but I'm pretty sure they're still ETH. So is the main thing with Sol, you just want to be there because it's cheaper, a little easier, it's a little newer?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I'm gonna try a bunch of different things, like make different stuff for different marketplaces. That's just kind of where I'm starting, because it's the easiest to get on, because a lot of those are closed marketplaces where you have to like have all your stuff and get submitted, and they only take people who have communities built up and have this sort of stuff. So I'm literally just at ground zero right now. Like I have 2 Twitter followers.
Wait, hold on. What's your Twitter? We'll drop in the Discord. We'll follow it. What is it?
Espo Visuals. Everything is Espo Visuals for that. Like I'm gonna make a TikTok. I'm gonna do it all. I'm just at the very start. Like yesterday, because SolSea it's so new, you can't batch mint something. So like I wanted to make 50 versions of this, but you have to do it by hand, like mint 50 individually. And I was doing it from like 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. It took so long just to do that. So it's definitely slow. I thought I was going to be able to just like hit the ground moving, but learning curves.
It's a very slow process. Yeah. When I
put my first collection up, that first one sold out thanks to Fidel, and it was all photography stuff, but I put it on OpenSea and I shilled. Have you heard shilling yet?
Yeah.
So I shilled for probably 48 hours straight. I remember that night I didn't sleep. All night I was just popping in every single Twitter thread I could find, trying to make it not sound scammy, all the Discords, and then just got lucky like a day later.
So let me ask you, what does that look like? Like trying to promote it but not sounding scammy? Like what?
Yeah. I would look at anything.
Anything that was remotely close to, hey, I want to see art especially art. If it wasn't just NFTs, if it was art, I looked for more of those. And then I would usually just drop a couple different of my favorite shots in it, drop the link, and I would just say like, hey, I'm an NFT photographer doing travel photography. I would have my buzzwords like NFT or travel photography, like 23-year-old, like a college student type of thing, or like I'm not anymore, but I just like use those buzzwords to get people like intrigued a little bit. And then a couple pictures that were just like a little bit, they were, what was it? Like I used like silhouettes, so they were very vague, and so you kind of would want to see what the actual photo looks like. And I just did that, and I just showed in all these different places. And any photographer, I would go through all their Twitters, all their Twitter threads, and then the responses to each of those threads, and respond to like individual people who were looking for art. And that's what I did, and it just took forever, but it was worth it. I mean, it worked. I mean, it's more tough with the Phantom Wallet just because less people have it, but I mean, that's just, I mean, I think that's how people do it. Fidel, I'll get you in contact with Fidel, and I'll see. I mean, I guess he's more into photography, but it's like this whole space is like purely who you know. Like your network is your net worth. I mean, you probably understand that in your business too. But NFTs, dude, like you literally have to know the right people. It's tough. How did you get into NFTs again? I think you had told me it was maybe your brother, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it was mostly my brother. I mean, I knew what they were, but like I said, I never saw any type of art that I did. It was always just, those like, a lot of it is the generated ones where they make like 10,000 just generated ones. And I was like, okay, there's no space for me there. And my brother just kind of brought up the point where he was like, well, you could just be different. Like you could just do your art and just make that. Like, no, it's not like everyone else's, but like that could be cool. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, maybe. And then, yeah, he kind of just brought it up more. I started looking into it, and then I found a couple artists just, yeah, doing like more like real art type of stuff. And I was like, oh, like that could be fun. That could be a cool way to share.
Well, listen, that shot, it reminded me of two things. It reminded me one of a Yu-Gi-Oh card that I can't remember, that it's like Shadow of Eyes or something. It was a cool shot. And then also it reminded me a little bit of like a third eye of sorts, because it was like in the middle. And so I was interested because I know Easton, he filled me in a little bit. He was like, yeah, she's a little bit into spirituality stuff too. You do yoga. When did that like spiritual journey thing start? I know people hate those words, but
no, I don't hate that word at all. That started, when did that start? Probably a year ago now. A little less than a year ago. Actually, maybe a little more than a year ago. I don't know. But basically, I found a book. Someone left a book in my house called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Have you heard of it?
I haven't read it, no, but I know a lot of people who told me I need to read it. I'm just lazy. I haven't.
Yeah. So that book, it was literally just one of those perfect things. It was just in my house. I don't even know where it came from. And I read it, and it changed my life, like truly changed my life. It taught me, it was the first book that really, it hit me where I could change the way I think. And I was always kind of, my head was always naturally negative. I would always kind of naturally just like fall into these really negative spaces. And I just thought like, oh, that's who I am, and I truly didn't understand that I could change the way I think. Like I could make my head, my internal monologue, like a beautiful, supportive place. I just had to establish new habits and actually put in the work and go dive inward, which was, it's like the scariest, hardest thing to do. But I really committed to, kind of taking that on like a year ago. And it's been the most rewarding journey, as you said.
Yeah.
Was there anything going on at that point where reading that book hit you more than it maybe would have in another point in your life?
Definitely. Yeah. I've been struggling with mental health my whole life. I started going to therapy when I was in like 6th grade, like really young. I was really just sad. And it was only in this past year that I kind of just kept hitting rock bottom, and I would have these really manic states of just like deep depression. And it kind of was brought to my attention. My family was like, we think you might be bipolar, like you should see some help. And so I did, and I got some help, and I started going on medications. I started to actually just like learn about the way my brain works. And that mixed with starting the spiritual journey, actually like connecting to things around me, starting meditation, like all of it combined was just this big like vortex of change and kind of growth. And yeah.
Yeah, this is like my bread and butter. I love talking about this stuff. I've had like multiple full podcasts talking about just the whole spirituality like realm. Easton was one of those people, like 3 or 4 people that he actually got me in contact with. So that must be like one of the things that we all kind of connect on low key. But I totally understand that that just whole topic comes. I mean, my sister struggled with depression and we're not sure about bipolar. We think so. So she's doing like therapy and all that stuff. So I've kind of grown up the past few years, like hearing about it, talking to her like every day about it. I struggle with just mental health, anxiety, just self-doubt, all the things that we kind of all grew up with in the beginning. And then it kind of took a thing of its own. It was like legitimate anxiety for a while, and that was terrible. So I get all that. And it's so hard because I've talked to people who don't experience mental health negatives in any way, shape, or form. They're like, no, I don't really think about anything. I don't overthink. I don't do this. I'm just like, how? Like, how are you not? I don't know. I don't even know what to think about that. I'm like, so you don't overthink anything and you don't stress. You just kind of You just kind of take everything as it goes and you're cool. And they're like, yeah. I'm just like, how?
I know, it's funny you say that. Because I kind of feel that way about my brother. We are so different in this regard. I feel like I have struggled with mental health so much. Have been so emotionally unstable, and he just isn't at all. He just really hasn't had those bad like mental health problems. Just like he has like, his own stuff, but it's just never something like he just can't relate. Like sometimes when I'm so sad, like I will just be just so sad, and it's not a specific reason. I'm just feeling just darkness that day, and he just doesn't understand. Like he's like, why are you sad? What can we do? What's that? Like, let's fix it. What's going on? And I'm just like, there's nothing wrong. Like this isn't just like, oh, I can,
Right.
eat this cookie and I'll be good. Like I have to feel this. I have to like sit with what's going on inside of me, and I just have to feel it. And that could look like me just sitting on the ground crying for a while. And he just can't understand that because he can't relate to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy how different people can be in that regards. And it's so easy. I mean, for a while I was so envious and jealous of that. I was like, why did I get all the crazy? Like, why did I get all this? And how are you just like, all fine? But yeah, I think it's taught me so much, and I feel like it's definitely made me strong. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, anyone who faces that shit head on, you deserve all the props in the world, because it's way harder once you start than it is when you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and then you get in, you're like, oh fuck, this is a long process. Some people it never ends. I remember at Loggerheads, the restaurant I worked at before, I was folding silverware. At the end of the shift, feeling bad about myself, I didn't have a great day, and I'm sitting there thinking about all these things in my head while I'm rolling silverware. And then Bob walks up and he's like, hey man. And I was like, hey. And we just started talking, immediately just started talking about sports or something. And then he got up and left to go do something. And I just he left and walked away, and I just sat there, looked at him, and I was like, I just had this whole thing going on in my head, and he had no idea. He just walked up and we started talking about sports. How often is that happening? And I don't even know if I can buy it that other people don't. Because I'm like, are you sure? Or are you just not aware maybe that you're thinking of these things? And I have no idea because I can't see inside their head. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on people who, like your brother, who doesn't seem to stress about any of that kind of stuff.
I think a lot of it comes down to awareness. And I think there is a big group of people who just aren't aware. When they feel things come up or they feel things wrong, like it might come out in other aspects of their life and they don't even quite realize it. They might, kind of explode and lose their temper at someone, and then just kind of go on with it and not realize like, oh, that was something you were feeling that you just weren't dealing with, because they're not quite in tune. I relate to you so much in terms of I feel like I could be moving mountains in my mind, dealing with so many things, and just, I'm like, no one around me realizes that I'm like honestly working right now to stay sane, or to ground myself, or to, whatever. But one of the biggest things, like you were saying, kind of facing that head on, when I read that book, it just taught you, it kind of made you realize, like, why wait? Like, when something comes up, no matter what it is, like, why not deal with it right then and there? Because then it's only going to get worse. It's going to get shoved farther down and come out in other ways. And that was something I committed to doing, was anytime something came up that I felt like, I'm pretty in tune and connected with my body. I do a lot of meditations and stuff, that I feel like I have a pretty good mind body connection. I can feel things, like I can feel when something unsettling is coming over my body. And it is the hardest thing in the world to not just ignore it and move on and shove it down, but to actually sit there with that feeling and feel it, and actually just be there with it and confront it head on. That's the work. And like you said, it's a lot easier said than done. And like you said, it takes time,
It's a long time.
You can't kind of force these things.
And I remember I would look back at myself. I remember like moments in my journey where it was really, really intense for no reason, just was. I don't know if it's because of lunar cycles or what, but every time there's a full moon, I get screwed over every time. And I always notice it 3 or 4 days in, and I'm like, God, why am I so? And I'm like, oh, the full moon's like tomorrow, and I'm like, why does this happen every time, like clockwork? But I remember a few times in the trip where I'm not a huge astrology guy, but I definitely think there's some merit. I read a thing once where they were like, millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do, because it does affect the world, they say. And I was like, holy shit. So I definitely believe in some of those. But I remember on the trip, I was struggling through certain things. And I can remember, because I kept like a little journal, and I wouldn't write in it. I was like semi-consistent with it. But I would read back some of the things that was going through my head. And looking back now, I'm like, wow, that just like, it was just like a wave of just overwhelming that just caused me to do that. And like, the more I've kept records of stuff and remember, I'm like, wow, it's really just waves. Like, it's just same with NFTs. That's why I think I understand markets like that. Cause I'm like, it's just waves. It goes up sometimes more, sometimes lower. And when you forget when you're down here, how great it is up here. And that was the Instagram. I don't know if you saw my Instagram story. There was like a little cartoon video of this character. And I resonate with that so much.
Yeah, no, I think that is such a good point of starting to keep track. That is something that I do now that has helped so much too. It's so easy. It's so easy to forget. Our brains are so good at making us forget like everything, and just focusing on this one negative thought and just cycling through it, and you lose your awareness about everything else. And that's something that writing things down, being able to see, like, go back on a day where I'm feeling low, being able to go back and seeing what I was saying a week prior, when I was literally wrote this whole thing about how this one cloud was so beautiful that it like made me like, it was the most like joyful thing I experienced that day. And I read that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm capable of finding so much joy in a cloud. And just because right now I feel like shit and I just want to cry, it's going to pass, and I'm going to be back, and I'm going to be back there. And yeah, having that actually written there so you can see your own thoughts like looking back at you is really, really helpful. It's
so helpful. And doing that is very much like how you're talking about with the video stuff. You were like, yeah, like I tried this, didn't work, but at least now I know I tried that thing. And with the spirituality thing, when you try new things, after months, and I mean, I started with this stuff like my whole life, but like in the last year or so, going through that 6-month like solo travel, the goal like 2 or 3 months in was like, hey, these waves suck up and down. Like they're both like, when I'm at the top, I'm so aware now that this is the top that it's hard for me to like enjoy it. So I was like, okay, so what is the answer here? What should I be fighting to achieve? And I was like, and I watched some video, I think, and they were like, your goal, if you're like in this space, basically, they were like, you want to get your equilibrium, like your natural state, higher than what it probably is right now. Because I remember I was sitting there, I was like, okay, so my natural state when I'm not happy or sad is probably like a 4 out of 10. I was like, that kind of sucks, actually. I was like, I want that like closer to 7. So like the past like few months, that's been the goal. I was like, I just want to be doing things. That's why I love NFTs. Like if I find something I like, I just do it more. Like I love podcasting, talking to people. I love NFTs, I love editing, I love all the things. And I do those more, and I realize, wow, my natural state is much more happy. I'm very chill. Like I've always been chill, but I'm even more chill now. So
that brings me so much joy hearing that. That is so beautiful. I relate to that so much, where I've never quite heard it put like that. Like you said, like your equilibrium, like where you're at normally, like that can be raised. I relate to that so much. Like when I said before, my mind was so naturally negative, that I was right there with you. My natural state was like a 3 or a 4. If there was nothing going on, like I was fine, but I wasn't just like excited and happy. Where now that I've like literally think different, I have new thinking patterns, like my literal natural equilibrium is so much higher, that when nothing's happening and I'm just sitting here, like I like feel joy doing nothing. Where like before that wasn't the case. I had to actually be doing something crazy to feel joy, where now I can genuinely find joy in the smallest things and nothing. Like sitting there meditating, I can be overwhelmed with joy. And I say that to say like that was not natural for me at first at all. Like I feel like naturally I was so negative and so sad, and I've been able to kind of grow and build to this.
Yeah, totally. It's I think it requires some kind of like rut. It requires those things that suck. And Easton broke my reality when he said something on my podcast. And it was funny because at the time he had reached out to me on TikTok. I didn't know what he wanted. I was like some like real estate dude. And I was just like, like it looked like a bunch of spirituality nonsense, kind of like just a typical like spirituality page. And I was like, I don't know about this guy. And so I met with him. He was nice. And I was like, whatever, like I need to do a podcast anyway. I'll talk to this dude. And within like 5 minutes, I was like, okay, this is a cool guy. This is a normal dude. He's not trying to sell me on anything. And we ended up having like a wonderful conversation. He broke my reality with one sentence. He said, because I asked him, I was like, hey, so, and it was about this topic. I was like, what do I do when I'm not feeling like I want to do the thing that I should be doing? Like if I need to push my podcast, why am I not filming more podcasts and editing more podcasts? Why am I just finding excuses? And he was like, well, you can actually do those things in spite of not feeling well. He goes, if you live a value-based life rather than a feeling-based life, do things based on how you're feeling that day. He goes, if you do them because your values, you want a podcast, you want this, you do it even when you're happy, even when you like don't want to. He goes, that's really the trick. He goes, and if you make that work in your head, he goes, it becomes a lot easier. And he literally said that when he closed his mouth. I was like, and you can see this on the podcast, like live. I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what? And that changed my whole life, and that it literally changed my entire life with that one sentence. So shout out Easton.
That is, shout out Easton. That is a incredible way to put that, because it's so true. That was something that I had to come to realize too, where I was like, oh, I don't have to act on my feelings.
Yeah.
Like that is a actual choice. Like I could be sad, but I don't have to sit in bed and sit in my sadness all day. That's something me and my brother talk about a lot, where it's like we like love to work out. Every morning when I wake up to work out, sometimes I don't feel like working out, but I want to work out because I know it's good for me. And I don't act on my feelings. I act on what, like you said, like what you value. I value being healthy, feeling good. So I'm going to work out even if I don't feel like it, because I value it and I know it's good for me.
Totally.
That's a beautiful way to put that.
Easton changed my whole life with that. And another thing that I noticed, I'm sure you've noticed this too since you started, because like the more you know, the more you realize the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper in this whole thing, And I remember, I would always I've always been hard on myself. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. You're just always hard on yourself. You're your own worst enemy a lot of times. And I would always be like, okay, I want to do this. And you know how we're just like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And like we're all over the place. So within a week, I'm like, okay, why am I not a master at this already? And I get frustrated. I'm like, why am I not hitting the gym 7 days a week and doing this? And like, why am I not editing a video every day? And on this trip, it took like 5 months, but eventually I was like, yo, I can be a little bit more patient, just a little bit more patient. Like it just takes a little bit of time to nail transitions. Like I'm doing NFTs exclusively now. It's like everything now. So I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to the gym that much. But it's like, okay, well, like, give myself a few weeks. Let me like integrate it and make this work in a routine that works. Cause like right now I'm like gym once a week if I can. And I'm like, God damn it. Like I want to go to the gym. I just like can't, I don't have time right now. And it's just cause I'm like so new to this new schedule I have that at some point I will fit the gym in because it's important to me.
And I mean, that's so normal. That it's okay for things to ebb and flow. Like I relate to that where I get so ingrained into a routine, and then when things have to change, I feel like I'm, I'm like ruining things. Like I relate to you in the sense that I was going to yoga every single night and it was making me feel so good and I was like on top of it. And then things change and now I want to use that time to draw and do all these other, like I'm still working, still doing videos. So that hasn't changed, but now I want to do this NFT thing too. So I need to take that time from somewhere. And it's okay to like shift. And I know that right now, since I'm super excited into like starting these NFTs, I'm not going to yoga at all. I haven't gone in a month. Yeah. I'm just like focusing on this, and like, yeah, that's extreme one way, but I know with time, like I'll balance out and then I'll start, like, I'll find that. And it's okay to, have periods where you're not on your shit doing, like, you can't do everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You can't do everything. So it is just about finding that balance. And knowing that there's times where I remember, I don't know what I was listening to, it was one of your podcasts and you were talking about, there are times where you just have to work. You have to just put your head down and work, and that's all you do. And of course, that's not like a great way to live, or if you're just working all the time, but there are periods where that's what you need to do. And then there's periods maybe where you can reap the benefits of everything you did and you can just chill. So yeah.
Yeah, you literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to allude to that. Literally, I was going to say life's like little bits of sprints just randomly. And, people I think that's been demonized in the past couple of years with like you're either toxic hustle or you're like a hippie, and there's like no in between. And like the hippies are like, you shouldn't be working hard. Like, why would you work hard when you can exist? And these people are like, well, you can work really hard and then you can exist. And I'm like, bro, like, what do you mean? Like, you have to work at some point. You can't just like always be amazing at balancing everything. That's just not how it works. It takes a little bit of balls to the wall, just go hard for a little bit. Like my NFT thing, that first 2 months, I slept every other day for 2 weeks straight. And I just learned I could not sleep. I was sitting there and I was just like, and my eyes just open and I'm like Twitter, Discord, and I'm just like, that's just how I do it. And usually it works out. Like I usually get good at whatever I'm doing. Like when I was growing up, it was soccer. It took me like 18 years, but I got to play college soccer. I got to experience that. And then as soon as I topped that, I was like, okay, well, college soccer's done. I'm kind of like over this now. So I was like, okay, fitness. And I became like the fitness dude at College of Charleston. I was like bodybuilder, all that shit. And I was watching like fitness YouTube for so long. But that's the way it works. Like if that's what you want in life, if you want to like succeed at the things you're doing and you want to be good, then it takes that little, even if it's a couple of years of just like going hard, because you do get to you get to reap the benefits, and that's just how it works.
I feel like that was our goal coming home here. Like all of our friends moved away from here. We know basically no one here. So we were like, we are going to, for 1 year, just not have friends, like literally not do anything but work, but learn, but build this business. And we've done just that. And it's been a year of like you said, like not a good balance between work and friends, like basically no friends, just work. But we learned so much. We got our business like up and running, and now we're going to move soon and, be somewhere new and like have more of a balance and meet people, actually start hanging out and going out and stuff. But we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't spend this year just like busting our ass, going hard, only doing business stuff.
Yeah, you need those life experiences. Like now I'm so much more grateful for anything. Like I was living in my car, I took my mom's Toyota Prius and I lived in that for 6 months. So like having a normal towel is important. Like having room to stand up is important. And I'm like, man, like that was such a nice little reset for me. And for you, like you not having friends for a year in your like physical vicinity, and like now you're like, someone texts you like, hey, we're going to like whatever. And you're like, yes.
Yeah, that's true with traveling too. About it really makes you fall in love with the little things again. When you're living so outside of your comfort zone, and then you come back to these things that you took for granted for so long, like a clean towel, like you said, yeah, that's an incredible experience, which I think is another reason why traveling is so special. Just completely getting outside of your comfort zone and then coming back, you see everything through new eyes.
It's so different. It's so painfully different. It makes me like uncomfortable how different it is actually. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what? It's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's sometimes hard. Like once you've taken a couple steps, like I'm sure for you started a whole ass business like that. Let's be honest. That's 1% of the population right there. You're already in a 1% percentile. My friend Devin, he started a company called it was that wrist rest thing that's doing amazing right now. And he quit his job because of that. So he's doing incredible there. But that little like step, it changes you. Like from that moment, you step into that new version. Even with old friends, you kind of look a little different. Everything you view is just through a different lens. I'm curious if you cared. I mean, I don't know if you want to like dox yourself like that, about how you've kind of looked at maybe friends or experiences or things you used to look at in a different way versus how you look at them now.
I would say I feel like I grew up in such a bubble. I was so isolated. I'm out in like a small country town. It's very white. It's very like there's money. And just that's obviously everything me and my friends knew, like everyone that was from here, and traveling and just getting to experience things completely different from where I am. It's just made me like my priorities, what I see as like a problem or an issue is just so different now that like when we were in the Dominican Republic for 2.5 months, we didn't have hot water. We just experienced life completely differently. And coming back, like hearing friends or people complain about just the most superficial things, like it's just a lot of stuff like that I just couldn't really relate to anymore because I have such a bigger perspective that I got when I traveled that I can't get like mad about those little things as much. I don't, yeah, like drama, just all the like the superficial stuff. I really don't connect to or relate to anymore. I feel like that's the biggest change.
And also the little spiritual awakening, or whatever you want to call it. For me, I've always thought, because it falls in a similar category with when people take like psychedelics, they'll be like woke after kind of thing. And I've always thought, same with money. I'm like, it just brings out who you were gonna be, and it just exaggerates it early. And so with spirituality, like some people, like I'm sure the little things probably bothered you, but you probably were sitting there still going like, oh, like, are you really that mad about that? Like I've always been like that. But now it's even more so. Like when someone pulls out in front of me in the car, like immediately, like for 1 second, I'm like, really? But then I like laugh. I don't know. It's just like funny to me. Like whenever something really stupid happens, for the most part, especially if I'm with other people, I just can't, it's so hard to take it seriously. Cause it's kind of funny watching people's reactions to stuff. They get so like angry about something and I just can't take it seriously.
I relate to that a lot. Yeah. I relate to like the spiritual awakening psychedelic thing too. In terms of like something that was always in you. I remember before I took psychedelics for the first time, like I said, I was struggling so much with mental health and I was just so depressed and sad. And the first time I ever experienced that, it completely changed my life in the sense of that it was the first time that I truly felt like I was connected to something bigger than myself. Like I truly, up until that point, I couldn't understand and actually feel why I was meant to be here, why I mattered. And that changed me forever. And that was probably always in me. I just couldn't like reach it. I really couldn't reach it yet. Like I knew like logically I'm here for a reason, or why would I be here? But I couldn't understand and truly like harness and feel it. Until that experience. And so that also.
Do we want to open that can? Do you have time? Do you want to open that can of worms with psychedelics?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, I would love to. Psychedelics is something that's super cool to talk about just because it's risque. So when I meet someone who's open to talk about it, I'm always like, all right, cool. I mean, sure, we might as well, Talk to me about it. How old were you? Like all the things.
So I was 18 years old. It was my first year in college. And I will say that that first experience I took mushrooms fully, had no idea what they were about, didn't know how much to take, just like randomly took them one night with a friend of mine. And I had just like literally like a spiritual journey in that night. Like I truly felt like I was changed forever. And because of that, I was like, what are these like magical things? And I went and I learned and researched so much about psychedelics, about microdosing, about all the research that's been done. I read books. I just like went so hard researching it because it literally like changed my life. And I was like, something this powerful, like there's got to be something to it. And so, yeah, I read a lot of books. I've read all the studies, everything they've done with it. And I think what's such a shame is people treating them as just like party drugs, and then them having this kind of stigma as like, that's what they are. They're just party drugs, when I think they're such powerful tools, but they need to be treated as such. Like you can't just take some mushrooms at a party and think you're going to have this beautiful spiritual awakening. Like you need to actually have intention and purpose and knowledge behind what these chemicals and substances are. What do they do to your brain? How can you use that to find out things about yourself? So every time I do them, I have an intention, I have a purpose. I do them with people that I trust in safe and comfortable environments.
What because I remember my first two. Mine was LSD, just like randomly. I was in my my apartment downtown. My friend was like, "Hey, like we got this acid. Do you want?" And he was I'm trying to think if I can out him like this. All right, we'll just cut that piece. Hold on. So when I first took a psychedelic, it was acid. It was in college. I think I was like 19 or 20. I think I was 20 maybe. I had just gotten dumped from my girlfriend at the time, like a few months before. And so I was like on this whole like working on myself area of my life, you know. And so I took it. Didn't know what it was. I had heard about it. I heard it was some spinal drop thing on your. And I was like, what? And so I remember hearing that in high school. And he was no, it's a piece of paper. And I was like, oh, what do you do with it? You just put it in your mouth. And I was like, okay. So just didn't really think anything of it. Ended up just like, it was like me and like like 6 or 7 of our friends. We were just kind of hanging out. We were like, hey, let's go get pizza. And I remember at that point I was so scared to leave because I was just like, I don't know if I want to leave this room. It was really scary to like go out the door. And we ended up doing it. It was cool. And I don't really remember it. Like the experience itself wasn't really that memorable. Nothing really happened. All I did was somehow I ended up in a pizza restaurant talking to a group of people that I didn't know. And I don't remember any of that. There's videos of it. I'm just talking and like they captioned it. They were like Cade and like Dashaway saying, they're like, I'm a popular YouTuber, because it's just like whatever. And so I don't know what I said. I can't remember. I think I just made some bullshit up. And so, but the next day I woke up and I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like what just happened? And I couldn't fit. And I was just like, did that really just happen? Like my whole mind felt opened up. I couldn't believe all these things I had felt and seen, or it had like changed something in me. And I basically did the same thing as you. I was just, okay, I got to know what this shit is. So I did all this research, trying to find all these things. And I dove straight into that whole world. It's just so interesting. It's just so interesting. And yeah, the people who judge it are only the people who, I mean, I haven't met anyone who's tried it, who's a complete, just like, fuck psychedelics. They're not good. They're this, they're that. It's only people who haven't tried it.
Right. And I would say people who, like I said, try it in bad situations.
Yeah.
Like I've heard of, I don't know, when people, and it's typically, I think people who haven't tried it, they talk about like bad trips. And I'm like, I think bad is subjective, because if you're trying to take psychedelics just to like have fun and like party around, like that might not be what you need. Like I feel like mushrooms have powers to show you what you need to see, what you need to work on. So if there's some pain that you're hiding, that you're purposely not seeing, and you might take psychedelics and that might start to come up and you might start to feel that, and that's not a bad trip, I don't think. Like that's just, it's showing you something that you need to see, that you're not aware of, like in your subconscious, it's coming up. And so I think those are beautiful, powerful moments. But again, if you're in a party with a bunch of people and all of a sudden you start feeling this fear or pain from some part, like it's going to spiral you, and you're not going to be able to actually like go with that and go down that path and explore and dive within yourself, because you're not in the situation or circumstance to do so. So that's kind of what I hear, is just people who are like, oh yeah, no, I don't like damn, I tried it once at a rave and I got sad or scared. I'm like, okay, well, there's your issue right there, you know?
Yeah. Going back to your point you said earlier, I know a lot of people say set and setting. They say those are the two most important things. And while that's pretty much for the most part true, the intention part is actually right hand in hand with that. I mean, if you go in with the wrong intention, just like you said, like to go to a party, you're like, I'm going to go to a party, take drugs and have fun. It's like, yeah, we'll see, buddy. We'll see if that happens, hopefully. But if not, I mean, if you go in with the intention to do something, like work on yourself. Like for me, I typically trip alone. I've done it enough times to where I trust myself with it. And I've done it a few times with the trip sitter that I trust. But I don't like to trip with people who are also tripping. Just, I don't know, like how you said, I can't go down the rabbit holes that I want to go down when I'm surrounded by other people, or they want to go like run to the park or something. And I'm like, I need to like do something, but I can't. And so I've always liked to be like the only person tripping, because I'm selfish and I want to like get what I need out of this thing. And, the intention is so important. Like when I was in Washington, the reason I stayed there for so long is because I literally had like a full-on just death on top of the mountain. It was like the most symbolic shit you could have ever written. I was sitting there, I had been reading these like couple books that are really, really just amazing. And I was like journaling, and I was on like a really good few days of just like being mindful and shit. And then on a whim, the last day, I was like, okay, well, like I'm already here. Like I have all this stuff with me, so I might as well just like take it and see what happens. And for me, acid's always been more profound. Mushrooms has been more fun, like trying things, feeling like a kid. And so I took the acid, kind of had no intention to like die, but I took it, and I was like, you know what? Like I'll just go for a walk. Like nature's cool. It's like sunset. Maybe I'll see if I can catch the sunset. That'd be pretty cool. Timed it to where the peak would be right at sunset. And so I'm walking. I end up getting on this trail that I didn't know where I was, but I was still pretty close to the car, so I was fine. And I went on this little trail, and I was like, oh, like there's a little tiny mountain I can climb to, and it was like a ski mountain where typically people go skiing when it's snowing. Got up to the top, and I have like this, just I don't know how I planned this music. I don't even remember doing it, but I had like the perfect playlist of like super intense cinematic music. And it's hitting like right as everything's happening at the same time. I look up and I see the sun setting, and I'm on top of a mountain. So like I can see all the ridges like around. You can see all the mountains in the valley, and it's beautiful. And I get to the top, and I'm like on a ridge like this, and I'm walking along, and on one side is the sunset over here, and one side is a full moon. Like, and it was blue and then like orange. It was total opposite. And I remember just looking around, and I have all this filmed. I'm working on like a documentary video thing for my whole travel. So it's just a little exclusive. And I basically like was on top of the mountain, and like I had trouble with like my emotions sometimes. Like I hadn't cried in like 4 years, like since my like first breakup in like a long time ago. And I was like, man, like that's kind of like weird. I should be able to cry. Just every time I almost cry, I like it dries up. So I'm sitting there, and like that was kind of in the back of my mind, I guess. And I remember I'm just like on the mountain, super intense music, sun setting, the moon's over here, and I'm like so overwhelmed because I want to just stretch out this moment. It was so amazing and overwhelming and beautiful. And I was like, fill me in. I was just like, wow, I'm just trying to like prolong this present moment thing. I was like, why don't I just like be here? And I remember just like plopping on the ground and just like sobbing, like sobbing, just complete just release of everything. And I remember just lying down. And at that point, I think the sun had set, the stars were out. And in Washington, like the stars, you can see everything. So I'm like under the Milky Way on top of like a mountain. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, did this really just happen? Did this really just happen like this? This is the most symbolic, like biblical shit I've ever heard of in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was just getting back to my car, and I was like, wow. Like I just completed the whole mission. Like I'm here, I'm done. I found the answer. The answer is nothing. The answer is just be joyful and be fucking appreciative of everything we have. It was just so overwhelming. And that came from like just intention. Like I had just not knowingly just been reading, been mindful and all that stuff. And it just led to that. And had I not done those things that it was before, I probably wouldn't have had that experience.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think intention is everything, because it directs like where your energy, where you want it to go, you know? Yeah. But I also say that saying it's largely depending on dosing, right? I think you can definitely, like you can microdose, which I've done a lot too. And it's like a cup of coffee and a smile, you know, and you can like walk in and bounce around and have fun, and it gives you some energy. And, or you can, you know, take a heroic dosage and literally, like you said, die and like have complete ego
like,
death.
I only took one tab. Like it was a double dose. So I took like 400 milligrams. It would have been, I think, which for me wasn't, or no, 200 milligrams, which for me was just like, that's what I would have normally taken to trip. So it just happened to be like, I think it was the music. I was listening to like Inception music and Interstellar. It was really fucking intense. But yeah, have you taken a heroic dose before?
I have.
Okay,
but of
all right.
psilocybin mushrooms.
Tell me about it, because that's something I'm scared to do, but I want to try.
So I would say you have to be, like, I definitely don't recommend it for everyone, especially if you are new to like going inward.
Yeah.
Like if you like, I don't know, I think meditating and being comfortable in just where you are in terms of like where your thoughts stop, like where you can go past them. Like, for example, I've meditated and had full ego death similar to when I did that heroic dosage, where like I'm meditating and I fully feel myself like break through a barrier where my body just isn't there. Like I'm so much higher than physically being here.
On a sober meditation?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I think what helps too, I've done like if you heard of like yoga nidra, stuff like that, where you are meditating for like an hour and it's these like guided meditations where they like take you through this kind of journey. And stuff like that happens too, where I've just, it's not like I forget where I am. I'm just so much past that. Like I'm just so much higher than that. And I remember like I remember the first time that happened when I was meditating. I remember I was in a hammock and I just remember like literally breaking through to this place, and all I can describe it as was I felt like I was home. Like it was just this feeling of full like oneness, like belonging, feeling comforted. And it wasn't like oh my God, I've reached this amazing place. Like I want to stay here forever. I hope I don't come out of this. Like there was none of that. It was just this is home. This is always here for you. Like this feeling, this oneness, this connection, it's ever there. You just become disconnected from it at times when you're so in tune with physically being here. And I can't, that's very rare that I've only done it like a few times. Like it's like maybe twice in meditation, and then once when I took that heroic dosage. Yeah, it's quite an experience.
With the heroic dose, did you take it and just sit on the couch and melt, or what happened? Did you walk around?
So yeah, it was a mixture of a bunch of stuff. I did it with a friend of mine, and he, we like didn't really speak for hours. Like it was mostly like I would literally go into these spirals of like fully, like I was in my apartment and I was surrounded by like all my plants, just like vibing, and I would go into these, like I would literally spiral into a place of just like, I can't even describe it, like literally like a different dimension. Like I just wasn't there anymore. And I remember every time I would start to feel myself like literally leaving my body, it was this conscious choice of like, let's see where this takes me, like a full acceptance, a full like I am ready to go with it. And I feel like that is so important. If you're getting to that place of like something's about to change, like something's about to go down, like I feel like that's where for a lot of people it could turn fear, and then they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And then like, I don't know, I feel like that's where things can go bad. Yeah, but me, I remember every time it was this full feeling of like, let's do this, like let's see what I need to see right now. And I would feel like, it's so hard to describe, but it was all feelings, and I would completely lose where I was, and it was just this like feeling of literally not being at this place anymore. And I would feel myself kind of come down, and then I would like kind of check in with my friend, and we'd like, eye contact, know that we're both good but in our own worlds, and then I would just get lost again in this feeling of just like full oneness. it sounds so hippy dippy, but it's like I don't know how to describe it in another way.
I know what you're saying. There's no way to explain it.
There really isn't.
I can say that maybe I'll be able to top you. So I tried. So like I don't know when this was kind of early, but I'm kind of like you where I wanted to feel it. I didn't have any problem diving into the uncomfortableness instead of like running away, because I was like, I already took this thing, like I might as well get something out of this. And so at that point I was still obsessed. I mean, I'm still obsessed, but like I was obsessed. And I'd heard about this thing called ayahuasca, and I was like, God, like I really, really want to try that. Since that, or I'll tell you in a sec, I don't know if I would want to do ayahuasca. It's just such a long process. I'm like, I don't know what I would gain out of that, because at that point, if I had done it, it probably would have affected me more. But if I took it now, I'm not sure what exactly I would need to gain out of that. But anyways, I was really researching it. My roommate at the time was a prolific dealer so I was like, okay, like if anyone can get it, it's going to be you. So like a godsend, like a week later, our other roommate was also a very prolific dealer. I don't know what I was doing living with. I was not a drug dealer. Okay, listen, I was just here. So anyways, he was like our upstairs dude. Anyway, he used to live there. He would always get these weird envelopes and packages, and he had left a couple months ago, but every now and then we would get a package for him, and we hated him, so we would just open it. He was a jerk.
And he would steal our stuff, so we would just open
his packages. He was loaded, so he didn't miss any of it. Sorry, John, if you're watching this. Anyways, we get an envelope, right? We hadn't had mail from him in a while, and I didn't open it. I'm just kidding. But it was in this weird brown envelope, and we like kind of shook it to see what was in there, and we could hear like something moving, but we're like, what the fuck, is there like sand in here or something? And David's like, dude, fuck it, we're just gonna open it. Like, John was a jerk to me, like whatever. And so I'm not saying this is right. We opened the package, the little envelope. There's a small Ziploc bag with some weird brown sand stuff. And I was like, that looks a lot like DMT. And he was like, that does look like it looks exactly like DMT. And we were both like, at that point, had been talking about it for days and days, trying to find it. And it's in Amsterdam. No one can get it. It's like the most illegal thing in the world right now. And I was like, so what do we do? And he was like, I don't know, like, let's research it. So we spent like a week researching, trying to figure it out. And one day we were like, all right, fuck it. We're going to invite all our like friends who are into this stuff. And we're just going to like have a ceremony kind of thing and just like see what happens. And so we like invited all these people over. Like it was like 8 people, I think. And me and David had like claimed it. We're like, we're going to try it. We're going to try it. We're going to burn it in this like jeep thing. If it smells like new shoes, like new leather shoes, then we have what we think. If it doesn't smell like that, we're throwing it away because it's some illegal thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, how are you sure of what it is? Like,
we weren't. We should have 100% tested it. We just went with smell. We were like, whatever, Reddit said it smells like shoes, so we'll just burn it.
So everyone's like huddled around.
We're in this living room, this like typical college boy living room, and we're all in like this circle on a couch. I'm on a couch with me and David, a table with like the big jeep.
We're like, all right, come on.
We can do this. So we set it up, we burn it, we both like get really close. We're like, and we're like, oh fuck. And David goes, oh my God, it smells like shoes. And I was like, oh my God, this is real. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is great. Like, who's going first? And me and David looked at each other. We were like, and he looked at me. He was like, I'm not going first. He goes, if you want to, you can go first. Otherwise, we're just going to throw this away. And I was like, fuck it. And I was just like, whatever, let's do it. So I remember we had researched it. They're like, you're supposed to take 1 hit, 2nd hit, 3rd hit, you blast off. That's like the Reddit thing everyone says to do. So we take it.
What do you do? Are you smoking it?
Yeah, you're smoking it. So it's in like this big jeep, like a big bottle basically. And I take the first hit. And have you ever smoked weed?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so imagine like the hardest weed you ever taken where it's harsh, it just like hurts. I took that. It was about 100 times more harsh than that. So I remember inhaling, instantly going like, oh my God, like that hurt really, really bad. But I feel like my body's gone already. Like 1 hit, within 2 seconds, I'm like, wait a minute, why do I feel like smoke? I feel like smoke somehow. I can't explain it. I just felt like smoke. And I was like, whoa. And he's just like, are you good? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, take another hit. And I was like, right. My eyes are closed. I'm like, yeah. So I take the hit. I take the hit, and I just hear echoes now. I feel like I'm in some weird room. I can't really see. I can see everyone, but they're like drifting away, and I'm starting to fade. I can feel myself fading into like smoke. And I'm like starting to like, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I just remember hearing echoes, and they're like, Cade, like one more hit. And I just remember hearing David, one more hit. And I was just like, and I'm not there. And I'm like, I'm going to die if I take another hit. And he goes, come on. And I remember I was like, okay. And so I take the third hit. As soon as I breathe in, like not even 1 second into the breath, I'll go, and as soon as that happened, I fell back into the couch, like completely just collapsed. And in my head, I don't know what happened in real life, but I ascended. I flew at 1,000,000 miles per hour into the ether. I don't know where I went. I just blasted off like through a wormhole, right? And this is what I had read. This is what I expected. So at the moment, I was still semi-calm, but not really. Imagine shaking like this and then moving 1,000,000 miles per hour at the same time and trying to keep a cap on it. It was very difficult. So I'm starting to panic because I'm like, when are we going to stop? Why am I still flying through the universe right now and I can't slow down? And I start to panic and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do. I can't stop. What am I going to do? I'm going to be here forever. I'm going to die. And these are the thoughts going through my head. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then Adam, Psych Substance on YouTube. I don't know if you know who that is. Okay, so Psych Substance is a YouTube education channel about psychedelics and all this stuff. So he was like my god for a while. So anyways, I'm like flying through and I just somehow see him or he appears or something and he's like laughing at me. He's like, you should have known. Like, I taught you all this stuff. Why do you think you can just show up? And he's like making fun of me. And I was like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I stop? He's like, you know exactly how you're supposed to stop. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just breathe and let it happen. You already took this drug. It's going to pass in 20 minutes. Just accept it. And I just remember being like, okay. And as soon as I said okay, everything stopped. And I just was stand still. And I was just like, whoa. And now at this point, I'm floating in the universe, looking down at Earth like a globe. And I look around, I'm like flying through the universe. And yeah, for like an hour, I was just vibing to music at that point. They put earbuds in my thing. So I'm listening to like super weird, like tribal music. And I'm just flying through the universe, literally flying through the universe and then flying around the world. And an hour later, my eyes open and they're all like, he's back. Like, what happened? And I was just
my gosh.
I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was just like, I don't know what just happened. And they were just like, that's it? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, give him a pencil. And so I started like drawing and I couldn't draw. And I was just like, blah. And so then David was like, I'm trying it. And he would give me this thing. And he like grabbed it and he went for it. But oh my God, that was so intense.
That is crazy. Yeah, I have not had an experience quite like that. That is crazy. I've had like the literally going to a different universe, but never with like an intense like speed like that. Like that's wild.
That's something only DMT does. It's called like the blast off, breaking through the barrier or something. But when I was there, I remember noticing, I was like, wow, there's some kind of like, not a being here, but there's some type of what's the word, like consciousness in here. Yeah, a presence. And I was like, what? And I remember like it was just there. I kind of just like felt them. It was kind of telepathic, I guess is the best way to describe it. But I remember just being like it was just so crazy. And I was like breathing in this world. I was like breathing and like trees were sprouting up from my breath. And I was like, this is like what it feels like to be God, I guess. I guess I'm feeling what it's like to be God. And it was insane. I can't tell you what I gained from it because I don't know if there's anything I gained on it because it was basically like trying to download 1,000,000 gigabytes of information on a tiny little thumb drive, I think. And there was only so much my feeble brain could pull out of that because I was just like, I don't know what happened. I guess I just experienced it. I think that's pretty much all I can say. So.
Wow.
Insane.
Thank you for sharing that. That is a crazy story.
It was nuts. It was nuts. I don't know if I would ever need to do that. I don't know what I could have gained from that. Like, I feel like there's way more you can gain from smaller doses and microdosing. I definitely want to ask you about that because I've done some microdosing with shrooms and I think and acid. But I'm curious what your experience is because I just talked for like 20 minutes straight.
So I've done it, I mean, kind of a lot, I guess, quite a few times. And I notice it in, again, a microdose, very small amount. So I'll do it very small amount and then just go on with my day. And I notice it in like the effects in very small ways. Like with my patients, I noticed that a lot where like, I remember once on a day I microdosed, I went to like the dentist, and typically at the dentist, if I'm sitting in the chair, I'm thinking like, oh, when is this going to be over type of thing. But I was just completely content with sitting there. I wasn't looking at the clock. I wasn't wondering when it was going to be over. I was just completely fine because that's what I was. That's what I was doing. And in my body, I feel it so much. Like if I'm sore, it just makes me so like connected to my body. Like I feel like I can actually like feel my muscles like from inside of my body.
Really?
Like it's a much better like mind to body connection. Like a lot of times when I do nidra, where it's like the hour meditation where you're laying there and the teacher will direct all of your energy into one part, like one finger, one other finger, one like specific parts of your body. And I feel like that's like kind of trained me to be able to really do that, like really concentrate all my energy into feeling like what my hand feels like, but like from the inside. And so microdosing like heightens that a lot for me.
Talk to me about your dose and how many times you're doing it, like a week.
Microdosing like 0.2 to 0.3 grams of psilocybin mushrooms. And I would do it, I haven't done it like twice a week for months. I would just do it kind of periodically. Like I would never, the most I've done is like every few days for like a few weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, more like randomly. I've never done it kind of consistently, because honestly, I feel like after I microdose, like I feel like the effects for like a while, because I feel like that one day where I felt like I just noticed like, oh, I experienced so much patience today. Like I truly was never feeling like that urge to do other things. And because I experienced that so heavily, then I'm kind of like in that state where then, you know, the next time I'm at the dentist, I can kind of like fall back to that place and kind of remember that feeling and that comfortability with the exact moment and not wanting to change it. So I feel like it's like I do it very kind of rarely, because I feel like I just do it to kind of recenter myself, remind myself of all these little things, I guess. And then I can kind of just use that as a tool to just do it naturally.
You said that super well. Like I'm going to see what you think of this. So sometimes I look at psychedelics as like I know everyone says, but psychedelics is the key to everything. But I feel like psychedelics is almost like if your brain or your mind or whatever that is, had like 100 doors, or no, 1,000 doors, right? But 200 of them are open. When you take a psychedelic or you microdose and you do other things that you normally are doing, or doing anything really, I feel like in your mind, and you're like, you know, breaking through barriers, whatever, you're like opening doors that aren't usually open. And then when the trip ends, the doors stay open. They're just opened. And now when you're sober, you're like, oh, I remember this like lesson I learned or whatever. And that's why I think it's so powerful for me, because I've done the same thing. I did the 0.3 microdoses. I think that was like the perfect amount where I didn't feel high. I just was like, this is working. It was right. It was like one tier below being high. Because I've done it a couple times where I did like half, and I was like, yo, I'm high as fuck right now. And this is happy, but this is not like sustainable, I guess.
Yeah, that is beautifully said. And that is actually exactly what is happening. Like when psilocybin's in your brain, it's establishing more neural connections. It's literally doing exactly what you said. You only use, what is it, like 20% of like your brain's capabilities, and it literally connects more things. And I fully believe that. It wasn't like the first time that I did psychedelics, I felt so connected and I felt so much love, and then, you know, the next day that all went away and I was just sad again. Like, no, that stayed and has stayed. That feeling of oneness, like that, those connections are in my brain now. Like I cannot unfeel that. And that's so powerful. And that's why there's so much research of it helping with things like depression and all that stuff. Cause it's one of those things that's not like something you have to take every single day to remember. It's like, no, if you have that profound, impactful experience, that is with you. Like you are changed.
Yeah, and I love talking about this because it's taboo right now. Same reason I talk about NFTs. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I have like a natural inkling of like where society's moving, just because I've watched so much stuff. I think I've always been like an observer. I've always just like noticed things. I was never popular, so I was always watching the popular kids to see why they were popular. I was like, so how come Megan always hangs out with Colin when he's just like a piece of shit? I was like, I don't get it. And so I would like watch all this stuff and like all those things. And so growing up, I did that. And so now I'm like, this is the time to be talking about psychedelics, especially if you're trying to brand build or something like that and market yourself as a person that people want to talk to or want to watch maybe online, as someone who's just done some of these things, isn't scared to talk about it. And that's why, like with NFTs and psychedelics, I was like, I want my podcast to be a safe place to talk about all those things. And people who, and especially because I want to gear to people who are wanting to learn about it. I can't always gear to the masses. Like if they're not going to watch it, like, well, maybe I shouldn't make the video. It's like, well, I'd rather make the video for the people who do want to watch it. That way they have a place to go.
Yeah, especially when it's things that you're passionate about that you believe in. Like I am comfortable talking about this because it genuinely has improved my life tenfold. Like I would not be the person I am today without those experiences. So I am like, I would love to talk about them and share them. And I truly do think that it's going to become much more accepted and much more mainstream as we go, just because I just know it because of my experience. The more people who experience this and realize how incredible of a tool it can be, like that's only going to be more and more adopted going forward. And I 100%. Bet we're going to get to a point where it's, you know, medically legal. And then like, yeah, I think we're heading that direction coming. For sure.
It's totally coming. And same with NFTs. I was like, look, you guys can all say it's not going to happen, but it's going to happen. It will happen, you know? And it helps. There's some people out there who like, I respect, who are in the like, what do you call, like celebrity, not celebrity, but people who are known, you know, like they have no problem talking about it. Especially people who are like historically right, like Gary Vee with NFTs. Like he was the first guy that I was like, okay, let me look at this stuff. And it's good to like kind of get a little bit of like, I don't know the words, like acknowledgement, but especially talking to other people about psychedelics. It's just good to hear people's stories about it. It broadens people's, you know, they hear a story and they're like, oh, that's actually not so bad, you know?
I think it is just breaking down those stigmas because people just have, like, that is the mass belief, right? That it's, I don't know, what is the mass belief? That it's just like a bad party drug? Like, I don't even know because of my experience. Like, I'm so biased.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to share. Yeah, just to share what helps you, because it's most like we're all the same, you know, like it's gonna help way more people.
Have you done a psychedelic at a party? Like, have you ever experienced it not trying to grow?
No, I mean,
really?
I've done them like with never at like a party with like people I don't know and stuff. Never in that situation, but I've done them for like fun. With friends, but it's at the beach at a beautiful cliff and stuff like that. But never at like a party with strangers, because I just have no desire to do that.
Well, it's like the total opposite of a drug like weed. I mean, weed like is made to kind of like just not knock you out, but kind of knock you out, just make you not fully there. Psychedelics are like the total opposite. That's why when people, when they're like, yeah, weed, psychedelics, I'm like, yeah, but those are not anything close to the same thing. I mean, I just don't, I mean, there's like psychedelics are on a totally different island, you know?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Have you tried, do you have like any bad experiences with them? Like if you tried it at a party?
Oh, with a psychedelic? Oh, I've done it. Have I done it at a party? I mean, I've done it with friends. Yeah, the same with you. I don't think I've ever done it at like a rave or anything, or a party or anything. Like shrooms I typically save for anything in nature. Like I love doing nature. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then with acid, like I don't know, like I guess so like or what is it? Acid gets like in my head more. And so I don't know, I always take it and then end up wishing I'd taken it alone somewhere so I could like work through stuff. I don't know. Sometimes if you've done it too much, like one of the arguments my dad had for psychedelics against it was like, okay, so if psychedelics are so amazing and it changed all these people's lives, how come everyone from the 70s who took it all the time aren't all like killing it? And I was just like, I don't know, like maybe they took too much. Like I feel like if you take too much too often, it just becomes like you don't get anything out of it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's totally your intention. Like anything you can abuse anything, and like any good thing can be abused and become a bad thing. Right? So I think that's like, you're exactly right. They used it as a party drug. They did it all the time just as a way to escape life, not to like dive more in, you know. They used it to distance themselves from society, not to connect with yourself and try to become a better member of society, you know. I truly think that's just a matter of intention and balance too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And to anyone listening, I know it sounds like we're trying to convince everyone to take drugs, but that's not exactly the case. We just want to kind of share real stories. It's not exactly what you think. I feel like it is. And look, dude, like I don't know what I could say about myself. I'm just out here. She's out here. She's a brand CEO company. She's got like all these things. She's ready to try different things. It's just not that, man. It's just not that.
I just say, like, just do some research.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I never, I think a big mistake is someone just like listening to this and being like, okay, and like running, I need to find a drug dealer and do. It's like, no, like research, first of all, actually understand how these work, how they impact your brain, so you can make an educated guess on whether you think you'll get something out of it or not. Because at the end of the day, like you'll have like a calling if you think that this is something that could help you or not. And if it's not, then don't do it. And if you have this strong calling and you've done the research and you feel like safe and comfortable, then
it's a game of self-awareness. I mean, if you think that this is how I learn, I have no problem doing this, I'm gonna just dive in. Like that's just how I am. So I just did it. But if you know yourself, and you're like, look, that's just not how I do things. I do it like this. I need to research. I got to talk to people. Then like, you know yourself better than anybody else. And I don't think anyone has to do psychedelics. I would say that like, you're probably missing out on some like perspectives if you don't, but that's the same with like everything. Like if you don't travel, you miss out on travel experience life. So yeah, I mean, shit, we talked about so much stuff. We started with video. We went into NFTs, spirituality. We did drugs. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? I didn't know. I mean, all my research I did on you was mainly, it was like the video stuff I want to talk about and the spirituality. Like I feel like we talked about a good bit of stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I feel good. I feel like we covered some ground.
Fire. Sweet. Guys, if you appreciate the podcast, if you liked listening to that stuff, I'll link all of Sydney's stuff in the description. She's on Twitter, we got Instagram, we got YouTube, we got a website. If you're looking for some brand work, definitely do you do all your stuff? Like if you do brand work, have you ever worked with someone where you didn't even fly there, they just sent you clips and you edit them, or do you always go and film all your stuff, do all your stuff there, bring it back, edit it, send them a final package, or how does it work?
We've never just done editing things. No, a lot of the product videos we film in-house here, so they ship us their products. Gotcha. We film them, send them back. We've done a couple other ones where we have traveled to like in Mexico, stuff like that. Yeah. But most of the work we do, they send us products and then we film them, send them back.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, if you like the video, the podcast, hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and give us a follow. Give her a follow on Twitter. She's trying to get that soul art out there. I'm gonna make a phantom wallet because I want one of those.
Do it.
Peace, guys.
Peace, guys.